Hey guys, it's Jamie from Walking Through Flowers, and today I'm going to show you how I made these lovely displays last minute for my last craft show. I have a lot of these little hanging pieces, and I had no way to display them, and I had some pegboard, had these trifold things, and I had to come up with something quick, so I just used stuff that I had on hand. So this is more of like an inspo video, just to kind of give you some ideas, get your creative juices flowing. But these are things that just happened to work out for me. So not only did I do these pegboard displays for my hanging items, I also made little displays for my prints. I had these little plastic doohickeys sitting around the house and some little wooden spoons that I had been hoarding for years. And they worked out amazing, except for the fact that it was windy the entire craft show. But I have them for next time, and they really do work awesome. So I hope that these projects are an inspiration to you. And if you are a procrastinator, if you procrastinate on your crafts and setting up for your craft shows, this video is definitely for you. So let me show you how I did it. So I grabbed this little piece of pegboard that I had that actually, it was so satisfying. I literally used 2 pieces out of it and then had just this little sliver, but you'll see that later. So I have this little trifold thing. I had taken the one off, so I just laid those down and took them apart and took off the hardware. I was just going to use 2, so I figured out which ones were less shitty because they were pretty beat up and definitely needed paint jobs, but I did not have time for that. Whichever sides had the less holes in them, I used that for the front. So I actually did end up using all 3, so it didn't really matter. One of them had more holes, but no one was looking at the holes. So once I took the hardware off, I just took the fabric off. They were just on there, just hooked on with buttons, so I undid all the buttons. And actually, I didn't throw away the fabric. I can foresee myself using it for something else in the future. So I have got those folded away somewhere. So I was going to use the brown side of the pegboard, and because I thought I would like the contrast of the white frame and the brown, but no, it looked bad. So the white on white looked super good, and made sure, because the bottom of the frames have these little feet. TLDR, I made sure that the feet were at the bottom. Got all my supplies. I got my, what is that? It's a saw of some sort. Plopped the pegboard on and kind of just lined it up. Yeah. Oh, and somehow, I wasn't recording when I did this. So I lined up the pegboard to the frames, and then I just did a really janky Sharpie line all the way down for where I was going to cut. I don't have proper, a proper cutting setup of any sort, so this is just a little bistro table, and I put that stuff there to weigh it down. I can't tell you how many times I checked under the board to make sure that I wasn't gonna cut the table as I went along, and then I had to put a chair there to kind of stabilize it, which, I mean, my God, if you're going to do stuff like this, just be safe. I'm pretty safe, I mean, but oh good God. It was a little rocky. It was rocky there for a second, but once I was going, I was moving, and then I just cut all the way down. And once I got halfway, I did actually have to go in from the other way, but it works. Like I said in the beginning, I had to work with what I had because I don't think I mentioned this. The show that I made these for was the next day, and I still had to figure out my display and everything. So for some reason, I just love creative problem solving when there's some sort of time constraint of any sort. I don't know. I just do so much better. Okay, so once I cut that side, I just cut the other little sliver off. A way to put a mask on right now. Definitely should have been wearing a mask when I was cutting it. I mean, I was outside, but I could kind of feel it going up in my nose. All right, so once I got the pieces cut, I centered them on the frames. And my ass was sitting there, making sure that the, holes were straight with the frame. And, I ain't got time for that. I did not have time to, make sure. It didn't matter. No one was gonna see how straight my holes were. I just lined them up, and then the next step was to drill holes in the top and bottom corners, and then I did them in the center of each side. I really wish I would have done more like the corners and then in the center and then maybe 2 more. I don't know. They kind of came away from the frames a little bit. But what is key here, if you're drilling into something that's not super thick, my God, make sure that you you have to measure, you have to make sure you're not going to go all the way through the wood, which of course I didn't do before I did my first one. So I drilled all the way through, but I mean, it didn't matter. I just sanded it down a little bit. So I pre-drilled the holes, like I said, in all 4 corners. Made sure that I had screws that were big enough that weren't going to go all the way through the holes, obviously. It was very satisfying, like using power tools. Oh yeah, look at that ombre. Yeah, here I am putting it in the center. I wish I would have done like 2 different ones. And then I ran out of like the screw size that I needed, so I didn't do one side. And when I was at my show, I really noticed like it was coming away from the frame. When you accomplish a project, you ever do a little dance, like when things turn out the way you planned last minute, it's just satisfying. So the only thing I didn't really like about these is, so the wood was like kind of discolored in some spots right here, but I didn't have time to paint them, and seriously, no one cares. Okay, project number 2. These are the little frame stands that I made for my prints. I had these little plastic things sitting around. The other hoarder in our family, my dad, had a bunch of them, so I took them, and they're perfect for like just little like 4x6 signage at craft shows. Highly recommend. So this is a little janky one that I made as my little prototype. So to make these, I use these wooden spoons. I have like 100 of them. I like thrifted them and thought, oh, I'll use these, which I have used them. I've used 5 now. Here are those little, the plastic things. And so I'm like, okay, cool. Like if I can just bend this plastic back, like I can just slip my prints in there and then put the spoons there to keep them up. So I needed a hot glue gun and a heat gun. So from here, I just snapped off the actual spoon part, and I, of course, did keep those. I could definitely use them someday. And then next, I scored them about 1 inch in. That way I can bend them without entirely breaking them. Okay, so this is what we're looking for. I did one off camera just to make sure I knew what the heck I was doing, that I could achieve it without making it janky. So made it real smooth, and the key here is I just had to go super slow. So here's the janky one. And once I did it twice, I was like, okay, now I kind of know what I'm doing here. So grabbed my heat gun and my oven mitt, and I just started focusing the heat right where the plastic was bent, because you could tell that there was a lot of tension there. As I just focused it right on the edge, I mean, so the plastic started coming up, but that's like after 9-10 minutes. So I had to just focus that heat as much as possible in that same spot for like 10 minutes before it started lifting up. And then it took maybe like another 5 minutes for it to come all the way up. But you can see just it like slowly, ever so slowly was coming up. But I just had to be patient. Otherwise it was going to warp the plastic if I didn't concentrate that heat right like where it originally bent. And then I moved my hand so that, because it was coming, once it started coming up, it was kind of coming up pretty fast. So I put my fingers there so that it could stop it, so it didn't like overextend. So then from there, I would just, before it went any further, I just held it in place and then blew on it to like let it cool so that it would stop expanding. And there it is. It turned out super good. And then once I like put my prints in, I realized, okay, they just like flop over. So that's where I figured out that if I could put these sticks there, it's like an extension to kind of hold them up straight. So I just took my hot glue gun, placed the stick like that, and I kind of pushed it more forward than straight up and down, just to ensure that they weren't gonna like, my prints weren't gonna bend back too far. This part was actually pretty finicky because I realized that like if I don't slide, oh, it's hard to explain, but I had to make sure that the stick wasn't gonna just break with the weight of the prints. So I ended up putting like more hot glue on the very back just to make sure that it wasn't gonna break. But yeah, so I ended up, I did 4 really good ones and I kept the janky one because I'm like, good Lord, this is taking too long. So back to the first project. These are the little hooks that I use. So these are actually Christmas light hooks that maybe you put on your like gutters or something, but my parents had a shitload of them in their garage and they've never used them. So I found out that I could just pop off that end and pop that piece off, and then that width of that piece of plastic is perfect for like peg holes. Like I couldn't even believe it. I was so damn excited. Look at that. It just slides through so well. So at first I was like, oh, okay, I'll use binder clips to like make sure that it doesn't come out. And it fits in there pretty snug that it's not going to go anywhere. So you don't even need the binder clips. And here's my little example. Look at that. And because they're clear, like you don't really see them. So they're not like distracting like the silver ones are. I just am amazed at how much better these work. So these are like the silver ones that you get like that are specific for pegboards. But look at that. It just like spins around. So like if people are at your display and go to lift something up, then like that's going to fall down. And I am speaking from experience here. They suck. But yeah, so here are the finished products. They worked out so good. I'm so excited to use them. That is my little last minute day before craft fair displays. So I hope this was super helpful for you guys. I know, if you don't have these things around the house, it's like, okay, Jamie, how the hell am I supposed to make that? Like I said in the beginning, it's more of like an inspiration, just to kind of look at things around your house a little bit differently rather than just immediately going out and buying something for displays. Just try to craft something that out of stuff that you already have that could totally suffice. So if you have any questions, you can hit me up in the comments. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.